Hey, beautiful people of the internet, how are you guys doing today? Hopefully great. Welcome to Budget Builds, where we use zero forma and achieve maximum efficiency. Today I am going to be showing you guys a extremely powerful setup for Khora. Now we'll be needing a few things, but don't worry, I've got you covered. Before I continue with the video, please Spartan kick the subscribe button for more Warframe videos. So before I give you guys Khora's build, there are a few things that we'll be needing. The first thing is the Zorus. In order to get this cleared, go and complete the Protea quest. Another thing that we'll be needing is the augment for Khora, and that is called a cumulative whip claw. I'll throw that on the screen, that way you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. And finally, we will be needing the Deconstructor Prime, aka Helios Prime's signature weapon of choice, this one right here. So let's start off with Khora's passive. Now the way that her passive is gonna work is simple. Khora has a cat. The cat fights for you. If it dies, it will reappear within 45 seconds. While the cat is alive, what's going to happen is you will gain a 15% increase in sprint speed. Moving on to her first ability, known as Whip Claw. Basically, Khora pulls out her whip and she smacks the enemies with them. This scales with range. Next up is her Ensnare. This is her crowd control ability. Basically, you'll snare up an enemy with chains. Any enemies that get close to the snare up target will then be grabbed, very similar to Nidus's number 2. Her number 3 is basically just changing the command of Vanari. So for instance, Vanari comes with 3 modes: attack, defense and heal. With this build specifically, you're just going to keep Vanari at healing mode, because who doesn't want to say no to heals? And finally, we've got ourselves the Strangle Dome. Now the Strangle Dome is very similar to Frost's Globe. Except the Strangle Dome, if enemies come close, they'll be tangled, as you guys can see from the visual representation, like they are chandeliers. So here's the build for Khora, and of course you know it's a zero forma build. We don't use forma on this channel unless it's important. So starting off with our aura, we've got ourselves Rejuvenation for more health regeneration throughout the mission, Streamline and Fleeting Expertise for more efficiency, that way we can spam our number 1 and not get caught with our pants down. Moving on to our range, we've got ourselves Overextended and Stretch for more range, that way our number 2 and number 4 ability can extend as much as possible. For duration, we've got ourselves Prime Continuity, that way our number 4 can last as long as possible. We've got ourselves Prime Flow for a bigger energy pool, a Vitality for more health, that way we don't die so easily, and finally the main mod itself, Accumulating Whip Claw. Now for those who don't know how this mod works, it's very simple. Basically, for every 3 enemies that we hit with our number 1 ability, that being the Whip Claw itself, we'll gain 35% more damage. After 10 seconds, it will start decaying, but at a slow rate. The cap is 350% bonus damage. And finally, for our arcanes, we've got ourselves an Arcane Energize, that way we don't get caught with our pants down and always have energy, and Guardian for more armor to stay tanky. Now if you guys want, now there's a choice here. You can either put on Arcane Guardian or Arcane Fury, which gives your melee weapon significantly more damage at rank 5. Now unfortunately, I only have rank 3, but this is still good enough. I personally prefer being more tankier and not dying so easy, because we have got less power strength. Up next on our build list of weapons is the Zorus. Now what makes the Zorus so special is, if you guys take a look to the left there, it says their combo duration is infinite. In other words, my combo counter will never ever deplete entirely unless I heavy throw it and explode the weapon or manually detonate it while it's in air. And also, the way that Khora works is simple. Any melee weapon you have, those mods and that weapon's bonus will be taken into consideration when you use your whip. So now that you guys know that information, let's move on to the build itself. So for the stance, we've got ourselves a Gleaming Talon. It can be any stance, doesn't have to be Gleaming Talon, that's not important. The most important thing is, as long as you have a stance. Remember, putting an aura mod will mean that you'll have more mod capacity. So starting off with our first mod, we've got ourselves Organ Shatter for more critical damage. Remember, these mods take into consideration when you use your whip, so more critical damage. Life Strike, that way we can regenerate our health at will. So just heavy attack and detonate it, and as long as the detonation hits an enemy, you'll get your health back. Next up, we've got ourselves Shocking Touch for more electricity, and Virulent Scourge for more toxin. I'm running with Corrosive because I like to take out armored units. Armored units are the hardest enemy types to take down in the game. Next up, we've got ourselves Pressure Point for more melee damage, Sacrificial Steel for more critical chance, and Blood Rush for even more critical chance. Moving on to the Deconstructor Prime, aka the stat stick. So the way that this is going to work is simple. Normally you would have 3 different Gladiator mods: Gladiator Might, Gladiator Rush, and over here you would have, I believe it's Gladiator Finesse. I'm not entirely sure what that third one's, but I entirely believe it's Gladiator Finesse. But this build still works with just these 2. So the way that this is going to work is simple. So because Khora's number 1 ability is a melee weapon, what's going to happen is every time you build up your combo counter, you're going to gain 20% more critical chance per combo multiplier. So in other words, with these 2 mods, you're going to be able to red crit with your melee weapon. So the way that this setup is going to work is very simple. When you get into the game, what you want to do is you want to crowd control the enemies. Either use your number 2 ability or your number 4 ability. And then once you've crowd controlled them, just hit them with your whip, that being your first ability, which is the more damage. Remember, the more enemies you hit, not only will your damage for accumulating whip claw will go up, but also your combo counter at the bottom right will also increase as well, increasing your critical chance and increasing your damage multiplicatively. So ladies and gentlemen, that's all I have for you guys today. If this video has helped you and if you liked it, Spartan, click the subscribe button for more Warframe videos. I'ma make like a banana and split.